Hello everyone. It's been a while since my last review, but I figured I'd come back for another one. School's been kind of busy. I finally have a bit of free time, so I figured I'd make this video on, as you probably guessed by the title, Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, a lot of people will probably tell you this is one of the most anticipated movies of this year. It's comparable to Endgame, and I'd say that's a fair comparison. This movie, in my opinion, for me, has been one of the most hyped films ever since it was announced, and ever since there was even a hint of multiversal shenanigans. It has been a roller coaster of hype of figuring out what's going on with this movie. And it's really it was something I didn't really expect I'd experience again, because I felt, and I think a lot of people felt the same way about Endgame. I felt that this movie, like the road to its release, was very similar to Endgame, and that a lot of people were unsure of what was happening. They had a general gist of it, but nonetheless they were very excited. They were expecting something big, and they got something big. And really, I never thought something like that would happen again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never thought we'd experience such a level of excitement and hype around a movie, not for a while, at least. I thought maybe when the next Avengers film came out, or not even that, but to happen so soon. It's only been 2 years since Endgame, and I know that sounds kind of like hypocritical. It's only been 2 years. Well, 2 years is a long time, to be fair, but it's astounding to me that something like this, a franchise, could be so large, have so much weight to it, is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of the hype this movie gets, I'll just say this off the bat, a lot of the hype this movie gets is well deserved. It's a wonderful movie. Right off the bat, I'll tell you guys, I love this film. This is one of the best Spider-Man films I have seen to this day, and it may very well stay that way. Everything from the beginning, middle, and end, I loved every second of it. There were definitely moments throughout the movie where I felt kind of shaky, especially because throughout this film, some things happen where you view the main character, obviously Tom Holland, Peter Parker, where you view him doing these things. Like, for example, and I don't know why I'm tiptoeing around these spoilers. Frankly, I don't care. I guess I should probably warn you guys, like, off the bat now. This is where I'm going to delve into spoilers now. Consider everything before that my non-spoiler review. If you don't want to be spoiled, stop watching the video at this point. But yeah, there's your warning. But now that everyone who doesn't want to be spoiled has left, this movie, in this movie, it kind of annoys me at times. And I guess it is a bit of a pet peeve of mine to see movie characters do some dumb things, right? Like for example, one example would be Infinity War. Seeing what's his name, Star-Lord, basically ruin the entire plan that he himself probably came up with by smacking Thanos over the head like 5 times. Like that, seeing that made me pissed, and it didn't ruin the movie for me, and just like the stuff in this movie doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it does kind of annoy me. So if you're partial to that, you might find this movie kind of annoying. Personally, with superhero films, I try to shut my brain off as much as I can and just enjoy the thing. But sometimes, I just can't help being a bit cynical. For example, and this is something the movie sort of addresses, is instead of trying to contest the decision MIT made, or you know what, I don't know why I'm just you guys probably didn't know what that meant. So I'll just start from the beginning. I'll explain the plot in short. So basically, if you watch the previous Spider-Man film, his identity is revealed. So after his identity is revealed, Peter goes to court with Matt Murdock. Yes, Daredevil is in this movie for about a minute. He isn't in it for any longer than that. But he shows up, and it's explained that Peter does, the court claims aren't really, there's no evidence behind them, so the charges have been dropped. However, there is the court of public opinion, and so now Peter basically has to deal with people either adoring the shit out of him, or people basically being pissed as all hell towards him. There's a really funny scene where Peter goes to school, and we see three of his teachers, and two of them really like him because they think he's a hero, and one of them thinks that he murdered Mysterio, which I think it was a kind of funny scene, but I also think it was kind of a good representation of what the opinion around him would be like. Not everyone's going to immediately just think he's great. Furthermore, the controversy caused by his identity reveal leads to him being rejected from all of his schools, which is, obviously for someone, I myself am going through the college application process. For me to see that, seeing that happen to him, it does make me feel sad by proxy. I can really empathize with that, because I don't know how many people, so a lot of people might understand this. If you're a Gen Z or a millennial or whatever, you might understand the college application process is rough. It's really hard. It's really competitive, and so to see such a person like Peter Parker, who we know is really talented, really intelligent, well, basically, to see that happen to him, it's kind of heartbreaking. I mean, to him and to a lot of his friends, or not a lot of his friends, but to him and two of his friends who also got rejected from their schools by proxy because they're, his friends. To them, that's basically the end of the world, which I can feel like if I got rejected from all my schools, I'd feel crushed. But yeah, because of this, he goes to Doctor Strange. He asks him to reverse the whole identity reveal thing. Doctor Strange complies, but Peter makes too many restrictions to the spell, which leads to the spell going haywire. Now, this is the stupid thing I was talking about. Peter doesn't actually think to go to contest the choice that MIT made. He instead goes way to the extreme. He doesn't think, oh, maybe I should try to talk to MIT, maybe I should try to do all this. Instead, he goes all the way to the extreme end of things, and he decides, oh, I'm just gonna mess with the fabric of space-time. Which, obviously, that's just a dumb thing to do. I'm pretty sure a lot of people felt that way, but a lot of people also are capable of seeing past this stupid shit. And the movie also calls Peter out on this. They specifically go, well, why didn't you just do this instead? And it is, one second, it is clear that he kind of just missed the mark on that one. So after that, this spell going haywire leads to all the villains showing up, and now Peter has to send them back to whence they came. So he captures all of them. He puts them in his Doctor Strange's little magic prison, and they all reveal that before they were transported to their world, to Peter's world, they were about to die. And so Peter realizes, well, I can't just send them to die. I have to save them. So Doctor Strange shows up. He's ready to send them back, but Peter's like, no, don't do that. Doctor Strange's like, well, I have to. So they have a little fight, which ends up with Peter winning. And I really like this fight. It's an interesting fight. Because it really does exemplify what Spider-Man's all about, in my opinion. And he's a person who always faces, the odds aren't really in his favor most of the time, right? In a world with flying super soldiers and magical sorcerer supremes, I mean, Peter's a person that can. He's kind of a person that really, he's the underdog, right? Is what I'm thinking of, and somehow he always comes out on top. And I really like how they portrayed this with the Strange battle. It was a wonderful portrayal of his power, of his ability and his determination, and I really liked it. Next, Peter. This is kind of a weird scene. He takes them all to his friend's house, basically, and he starts making cures for them so that when they go back to their world, they won't be about to die. They won't be dead, basically. And throughout this time, we've had underlying hints of Green Goblin surfacing in Norman Osborn. But once Peter makes basically the cure for every character, Green Goblin shows up and he's like, oh, well, I want to kill everyone. And so all the villains Green Goblin included fight Peter. They have a little kerfuffle, which leads to Peter getting smashed through 6 floors. And by the way, this fight is amazing. It is a great fight. The villains in this fight, Electro, Sandman, Lizard, they're not very important. Doc Ock gets thrown out the window like the second it starts. So it's really just Green Goblin and Spider-Man just going at it. It's a wonderful fight. You really feel the power of Green Goblin, and you feel desperation in Spider-Man. There's a point in the fight where Spider-Man's just going ham on his face. He's just punching in the face again and again and again, and Green Goblin's just laughing. And I just thought, wow, this guy's really insane. And you could really feel that. So Peter gets thrown down 6 floors in a row, and Aunt May shows up, and she gets killed. And that's this movie's big, death is Aunt May. She dies, and she tells Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, something I want to touch on really quickly is this movie has a lot of implications. It really implies that Uncle Ben isn't really a thing in this universe per se, if that makes sense, right? Because throughout, and I'll explain more in depth, but first of all, we have things like, he's never mentioned. We have the fact that Aunt May is the one to say the titular line, and later on, when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up, yes, they are in this movie. I'll touch on that more later, but later on, when those two show up, they both mention Uncle Ben by name. They say, Uncle Ben told me, but Peter has no reaction to this. If he had an Uncle Ben, I think he would say that, he would say something about it. But he doesn't, he has no reaction to this. Maybe it's because he's so numb with pain. I don't know what it is, but there doesn't seem to be an Uncle Ben in this universe. And I can see that being kind of a lot of people might not like that, which I can understand, right? Uncle Ben's he's a core part of the character. But I'm fine with, the way I see it, this movie's kind of a soft reboot / origin story for Spider-Man. The way I see it, it's fine. At the end of the day, Peter learned the lesson he needs to learn. He's gone through the experiences he's needed to go through. I'd argue, actually, he's gone through more than he's needed to go through. He's lost 3 mentor figures at this point. And just, what I'm trying to say is, I don't mind the non-inclusion of Uncle Ben. I feel as though this MCU version of Peter Parker is, I think it's a new direction. I like the direction they've taken it. I like the things they've done with it. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same way about it. They agree with me. And I just, a lot of people before this have really complained that MCU Peter Parker has not gone through enough, right? That he hasn't lost enough. He hasn't dealt with enough crap, basically. He doesn't take responsibility or whatnot. But I'd argue, first of all, he does take responsibility. And second of all, he's already lost plenty before this movie. I mean, he's lost two of the people he's looked up to most. Mysterio, you could argue, doesn't really count, but I would say, he counts. Furthermore, Iron Man, that's a big loss as well, right? I mean, I'm just trying to say that it's okay to have different interpretations of the character as long as the end result is similar, right? Or not similar per se, but if you're trying to make a version of the character that is similar, I don't really care how it gets there, right? Or, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, after Aunt May dies, Ned basically summons Andrew and Toby, and this part was really hype. Never before have I heard a theater cheer before this moment, these two moments in the film, and honestly, it was an experience. I loved it. It was awesome. Seeing them show up on screen. I grew up with I mentioned this, I think, in my Spider-Man reviews, but I grew up with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and I frankly also grew up with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. When I was a wee lad in Scotland, I'm just kidding, but when I was a 9-year-old, I loved the Amazing Spider-Man films. They were amazing to me. I loved Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I thought he looked really cool. And I was really disappointed when I found out they weren't going to be making an Amazing Spider-Man 3. Regardless, I do like Tom Holland's Spider-Man just as much as I'd like either of those two. I think I don't really have a preference, although I might give a slight edge to Tobey Maguire at this point. But seeing them show up on screen, it was frankly, it wasn't something I think would ever happen. I saw it and I had the biggest grin on my face. It was an amazing moment. Yeah, it's making me kind of sad. Not sad, but it's making me kind of sappy thinking about it. Just the impact it had on so many people, including me. It's wonderful. So yeah, just to paraphrase, because I don't want to drag this on for too much longer. So they show up, they interact with Peter a bit, Tom Holland Peter. And let me just say, Tom, Andrew, and Toby, those three have incredible chemistry. They played off each other so well. I loved their interactions with each other. It was amazing to watch. The whole thing, just the fact that it exists, just the fact that they interacted with each other. They talked about their web shooters and how Toby makes his own web fluid out of his body. It was a sight to behold, honestly. I don't know what to tell her. I'm speechless. I'm trying to put it into words, and it's just this entire review, I've just been trying to figure out what to say about this entire movie, and I just can't. It's just something else, and I love it for that. It's a great movie. So yeah, they show up. They have a bit of they do a bit of shenanigans. Then the final battle occurs, and up to like the very end of the final battle, I think it's just, there's nothing special about it really. Obviously it's really cool seeing the three Spider-Men fight alongside each other, but that's expected. It's not that surprising. What the real highlight of the battle, I think, is the very last portion of the fight. Like, I'd say the last tenth of the fight. Green Goblin versus Tom Holland Spidey. Now, at this point, I would argue that Tom Holland Spidey is more of a Tom Holland villain than he is a Tobey Maguire villain. I'd say that Electro would fit for Andrew, Doc Ock fits for Tobey, and what do you call it? Green Goblin for Tom, because the impact, the parallels, the impact Green Goblin has had on Tom's Spidey is incredible, to the point where, at the very end of the fight, Tom comes, he is very close to killing Green Goblin. He nearly does it. He actually almost kills Peter Parker. Or not Peter Parker, he almost kills Green Goblin. And this isn't one of those cop-outs where he comes within an inch of stabbing him and just throws away the glider. He's oh, I'm not that kind of person. No, he has killing intent. He almost kills him. The only reason he does not die in this film is because Tobey Maguire steps in and he gives him this look that just, I don't know how to describe the look, but you could tell what he was saying to Tom Holland. He was basically saying, don't stoop down to his level. So yeah, Tobey gets stabbed after that, but it's fine. He lives, so it's whatever. But after that, Peter goes back to Strange and he asks for him to redo the spell so that everyone can go home. And he does. This time, everyone forgets who Spider-Man is. Not only do they forget who Spider-Man is, though, they forget Peter Parker as well. So, now we are left with a Peter Parker who, one, is literally all alone, doesn't have any friends, no Aunt May, nothing. Two, he doesn't even have an education at this point. He has to take the GED. He is literally out of school because they don't have his records or anything. They forgot who he was. And three, no Stark Tech. He is poor as shit. He lives in this dingy apartment, this dingy one-room apartment that's, it's giving me major Spider-Man 2 vibes, to say the least. So yeah, all those people who complain that he didn't deal with enough shit. He was an Iron Boy Jr. They are getting their comeuppance this film. Peter has gone from working in an iron spider suit with nanotechnology and a bunch of doodads to a simple cloth and a simple sewn together cloth costume that he swings around the city in, and that's how it ends. He puts on his homemade suit, and by the way, this suit is really good. It's a nice looking suit. I love it. I mean, it's basically it's quintessential Spider-Man. If you look at Spider-Man from in a comic book and then compare it to the suit at the end, that is what it looks like. Just a brief note, but yeah, that's how this movie ends. It's quintessential Spider-Man, honestly. He's down on his luck. He's got no friends. He's all alone. He's just swinging through a city as Spider-Man, and I think that's a great ending for this Peter. He's risen to the top, and now he's fallen, and I'm thrilled to see where they take this character. So I'm going to stop my incoherent rambling for a second, just so I can try and form my thoughts into a coherent sentence. I love this film. It is at least the second best Spider-Man film behind Into the Spider-Verse. It is It is just wonderful. I can't even describe it properly. All in all, I'd say this gets like a 99 out of 100. I don't even know what score I'm using anymore. 9 out of 10, 99 out of 100, 4.9 out of 5, whatever it is. Just watch this film. It's really good. Even if you're not a big fan of Spider-Man, I think you'll still enjoy it. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this. Is just watch the movie. It's good. It's really good. Yeah. Goodbye.